It's the rogification of the 2024 Critérium du Dauphiné, and right over there, well, if I can turn the camera around to get him, that's our stage winner twice. Bravo, Primoz. Primoz Roglic, stage winner up here at Saumur, 7th stage of the 2024 Critérium du Dauphiné, and he launched in the final meters. Matteo Jorgenson tried to follow him, sat on his wheel, came in right to the finish line, right with Primoz Roglic, finishing second. Remember, they're the bonification seconds. We're up here at 1,600 meters in the southeast corner of France, at Saumur, the ski resort. Well, in the summertime, it's a place for cycling. And the bonus seconds after a stage win, when you get it up here, you get 10 for the win. You get 6 for second. That's what Matteo got. Primoz got 10 seconds, and 4 seconds went to Giulio Ciccone. 5th place, Canadian Derek G. And what a stage we had today. The queen stage of the 2024 Critérium du Dauphiné. And that's where the Slovenian superstar showed the rogification that we've always known. That ability to kick in the final meters. And today, I think it was around 300 meters to go of this 10-kilometer climb. To be able to kick after his opponents have been whittled away, or all their energy whittled down to the bare minimum, have that final explosive punch acceleration, because he's not just finishing with the other GC riders, he's finishing in front of them, taking the maximum bonus seconds. He came into the race in the yellow jersey, came into the stage today in the yellow jersey by around about 19 seconds over Remco Evenepoel, and added to it a lot. Because the other big news of the day is that the Belgian champion, Remco Evenepoel, former world champion, current world champion in the time trial, he won the time trial stage 4 the other day. Well, at 7K out, he was dropped. Primoz Roglic, he's put a signature on this stage, and with 1 day to go in this French stage race, 8-day stage race, and I think 21 days to go to the Tour de France, well, he's made his mark, and he looks good with about a minute advantage over Matteo Jorgenson. Derek G, for his ride, is now 3rd place overall. We're going to get to those exact stage results and the exact classification and exactly what all this means to Primoz. But first, I want to break down how it unfolded, because we thought for a while that one of the escape riders would win, because he really threw the spanner in the works today on this clean stage. 3 Cat 1 climbs and then this final HC climb. Well, that massive crash in stage 5 the other day was taking its toll, because we had 20 riders that wouldn't finish today's stage. 8 of those were DNSs, did not start. And of those 8 riders, well, it's Theo Gegenhardt, who yesterday we saw suffering. We think it's his ribs. Out of the 12 DNFs, well, we lost Ilan van Wilder, helper to Remco Evenepoel. Nilsen Paulus, the American, who seemed to be improving day after day, was unable to finish the stage, dropped out. Ivan Sosa from Team Movistar and King Kenny Ellison from Team Cofidis. Those riders wouldn't finish the stage. 15 riders, including Canadian Hugo Hull, were in the escape, but the key rider to keep an eye on was Marc Soler, 3 minutes, 45 seconds, and Bora Hansgrohe, we're keeping an eye on him, because at 3:45, well, he was a threat to the overall GC classification. That gap, it grew at one point up to 5, nearly 6 minutes. We didn't think Soler was going to overthrow the jersey, but he could definitely go for the stage win, and who knows, maybe have a chance for the overall. So Bora Hansgrohe went to work back behind. And when you were seeing the riders on the front, it was Marco Haller, Nico Dentz, Bob Jungels, Matteo Sobrero, all of those riders, and then turning over to Jai Hindley on the Ramah climb. That's when Soler made his move. I think it's around 46 kilometers to go. Him and Warren Barguil, the Frenchman, were attacking each other, and it was the Spaniard, Marc Soler, who's going to be the helper for Tadej Pogacar at the Tour de France. Goes free, rides over the top of the Ramah, solo, down into the valley, heading into this final climb. We were watching the gaps all along, and so was Team Bora Hansgrohe back behind. At the top, over the Ramah, is 140 to the rest of the escapees. To the Roglic group is 527. And then down to the base of the Saumur, 9.9 kilometers, we'll call it 10, averaging 9%, long stretches of 10% grades at times. Well, it's 4:15 for Marc Soler. So Bora Hansgrohe really had their work cut out for him, but we were going to see if Soler was going to start to show signs of fatigue in the 10-kilometer climb, because he had been out for most of the day. Solaire's advantage was starting to go down, and then the camera switched back to the back of the group of Primoz Roglic, and there we saw the white jersey, Remco Evenepoel, setting second overall at the start of the day. Well, he was where he shouldn't have been, at the back of that group that still included Mikel Landa. Then Remco Evenepoel cracked, and our focus turned over to the rest of the GC riders. Up front, we still had Matteo Jorgenson, the American for Team Visma Lease a Bike, Derek G, the Canadian from Israel Premier Tech, who is now going to be moved up to third, Matteo up to second if Remco Evenepoel was still losing time. Well, Remco Evenepoel, for his part, he did ride conservatively. It wasn't like what we saw in the Tourmalet stage last year at the Volta a España. He was able to maintain his gap until some point the gap kind of just ballooned out, and we'll talk about the gaps later. 5.7 kilometers to go. We saw Giulio Ciccone launching in a couple of attacks, and he was pulled back. Remco Evenepoel at that point was still only at 40 seconds. Hindley was finished with his work around 5 kilometers to go. Former Giro d'Italia winner Jai Hindley, then Vlasov. They should really give this guy a raise because he went to work on the front. 3, 2, 1, Vlasov. It's Vlasov blasting off, pulling up alongside Marc Soler, 2 kilometers out. The escape is caught. It's all over to the GC guys, and what's going to happen for the stage win? Surprise rider, as I said before in the last couple of days, surprise rider, Oyer Lascano. Amazing that he's still up there, really blowing all of our minds the way he's able to ride in that group of riders, including Roglic, Matteo Jorgenson, Derek G. But there he was, and he was launching an attack of his own. It went under that tunnel, and that's when things started to take shape, and that's when Primoz started to gear up and get ready for the Roglification. Buitrago first shot out on the right-hand side. Then we saw Matteo over there in the yellow jersey on the left. We had Giulio Ciccone going through the tunnel on his right. Coming out of the tunnel, it was Jorgenson there at the side of Giulio Ciccone. It was Oyer Lascano setting second wheel behind Buitrago. Lascano tries his move. Primoz Roglic right there behind Matteo Jorgenson. And look who's on Roglic's wheel. It's Derek G. Sugarman Carlos Rodriguez behind him, but was drifting back. Derek G trying to hold on to Primoz Roglic, who was revving up, looking for that gap on the left side, and then bam, he's gone. Matteo jumps on, holds on for dear life. Giulio Ciccone cannot close the gap, and the gap opens. Right behind him is Derek G, but it's Roglic getting his second win in a row, rolling over the finish line, hands on the handlebars, unable to throw them up in celebration. So exhausted from the stage he was. Remember, we didn't have sunny conditions like this all day. In fact, most of the day it was rainy, cloudy, cold. At the start, the rain was coming down. At the finish, sunshine. Finally, we followed Primoz Roglic over there. He turned around, went over to the podium area where he's going to do the podium, and then we were able to get him in the mix zone. And as he said yesterday, it was carpe diem. It was just enjoying the moment, the day. You see him there. He's a happy guy. He's just happy living in the moment, but he knows the Tour de France is on the horizon. And he also knows that every day that passes where he doesn't crash, it's good, because he's had a share of crashes in the past that's prevented him from pulling off the big ones, from competing for the Tour de France win, you name it. He's been safe so far in this Critérium du Dauphiné, save for that crash in stage 5. We went over to Derek G. He finished right there, just a few seconds behind the Primoz Roglic, Matteo Jorgenson duo. Derek G, every day, he's just more and more happier, so excited to be where he's at, and he says, this is just cool. Talking with his teammate, Jakob Fuglsang, who's won the Critérium du Dauphiné before, he's trying to give Derek all the experience he has. So is Chris Froome. Chris Froome's in the team, helping Derek out how to manage the race. And he told Derek, everything can happen any day in this Critérium du Dauphiné. So be on the alert. Wear a jacket, he told Derek earlier on, for that first descent, so he'd be protected from the weather elements. Then we got to look at the other riders. Remco Evenepoel finally comes in. Bless his heart again, because Remco, professional. He finishes, loses time on the day, but still is able to compose himself, put on the jacket, and talk with the press. He does French first, then switches to us to speak in English and explain the day. Was he hurting from the Basque Country? Was he hurting from the crash a couple of days ago, the day after his time trial win, when he got the yellow jersey as well? Well, it's a combination of those factors, but also his form is still building ahead of the Tour de France, so he's not worried. He's calm, he's cool, he's collected. Another journalist, colleague, friend asked, Remco, is there a chance you can bounce back tomorrow? And he laughed, no. He's not going to be fighting back tomorrow. He knows he needs to consider this as training for the Tour de France, finish off the last day of the Critérium du Dauphiné, where we'll have 20 days to go ahead of the Tour de France. Right now, it's a fight for the overall. Can Primoz Roglic hold that 1 minute gap to Matteo Jorgenson? Jorgenson showed a fighter today, getting the 6-second bonuses behind Primoz, only losing 4 seconds to Primoz. Kone there is in third, Lascano in fourth, Derek G in fifth, Carlos Rodriguez in sixth, Santiago Buitrago seventh, Lawrence de Plus eighth, Vlasov, and then Landa. Looking at the GC, how do things shake up now that Primoz has got an additional 4 seconds on Jorgenson and ditched Remco Evenepoel. 1 minute, 2 seconds back to Jorgenson. Derek G, 1 minute 13, who lost a little bit of time to Jorgenson, 6 seconds, and a couple there on the finish line. So now he is 11 seconds behind Jorgenson, the Canadian, right there in third spot. Vlasov, the Russian, there in fourth. Rodriguez, fifth. So on, Remco Evenepoel, 2:15 back. Because you'll remember on the stage, he lost 1:47, I believe it was. So that explains his 2:15 back. He's still setting sixth overall, right ahead of Lawrence de Plus, who will try to move up ahead of him tomorrow, the Team Ineos Grenadiers Belgian rider. Tonight, though, it's celebration. The Slovenian Primoz Roglic is back. Yes, back. One day he wins, next day he wins again. This is the Roglification, the stuff we've seen of old. But pay attention, something's different. This time he's in Team Bora Hansgrohe, the team that will be rebranded Red Bull ahead of the Tour de France. He wanted to switch teams over the winter. Visma Lease Bike let him out of his contract because you'll remember in the Volta a España, he wanted to win the race overall there. He didn't get his chance. Also in the Tour de France, they didn't allow him to race that race. They sent him to the Giro beforehand instead. He did win the Giro, but he wants to win the Tour de France, adding that race to his Palmars after the Giro and the Vuelta, and he knew he needed to switch teams in order to make it happen. Perhaps if he stayed in Jumbo this year, Visma this year, he would have got the chance to lead the team, because we don't know about Jonas Vingegaard, but he said forget that, switch teams over to Bora Hansgrohe, showing he's still the Primoz Roglic of old. Stage 6, Stage 7, and set for Stage 8 showdown with the yellow jersey on his shoulders in the 2024 Critérium du Dauphiné.